Welcome back to our Birth Parent Search and Reunion Group webinar series, where we have 3 of our lovely CCI board members, and they have been sharing with us their experiences with birth parent searching. So tonight is our 3rd topic, and they will be sharing with us about their experience with on-the-ground searching. So please welcome our board members.
Hi everyone, my name is Ming, and I'm 29, and in terms of my on-the-ground searching, as mentioned before, I started in 2011, and I did, some TV interviews and also spoke with the local newspaper and was able to speak about my interest to search and a little bit about my life before I went to America. I did know that the TV station, along with the newspaper, I do believe they wanted to sensationalize my story a little bit. So I did try to act as natural as possible, but I think they definitely wanted to see more of an emotional side to me to gain some form of maybe high ratings and things like that. But ultimately, I also chose the route of posting posters. And that was around the year 2013. And I had a searcher go around Kunming as well as some other areas and post posters, which had a general bio and interest for my search and why I wanted to search, and then my contact information. And I also included 4 or 5 pictures of myself of when I was a young child to when I was a teenager, as well as my current at the time self. So that was my general method. And as for DNA testing, I chose to use a forensic center in the city in which I searched. That was back in 2011, and I had my data stored there, still do. And then I also was able to use an American company for DNA testing, which was very unique because I didn't think that would be possible to use a company that usually does domestic testing as opposed to international. So those were my methods in terms of on-the-ground searching, and also just trying to add my information to sites such as Baobei Huijia or BBHJ, and also trying to use other websites such as Weibo and the microblogging site. But again, because of my language skills in Chinese being very limited, that was a challenge to kind of overcome. So I did seek a lot of support from friends and or teachers that I had met in China to support me in that. So yeah.
Hi everyone again. I'm Laney, I'm 26. And so my on-the-ground searching took place between 2011 to 2013. So at that time, I was 17 to 19 is when I was on the ground searching, and my mom was with me for 2011 to 2012. Then 2013 was a little bit less on the ground searching, but I was by myself then. So on the ground searching for me, there was someone in my hometown, adopted from my hometown, from my orphanage, who actually was successful in finding his birth family. And he used the media. And my mom was able to get in touch with him and get some of his contacts, which was very beneficial. And the media person, great woman, still family friends. She's a radio personality. And so she had a lot of media connections. I also had a searcher who many people may know of, who are actively searching. I know Ming has used her as well, Jane Leo, and she was our interpreter and our liaison for searching. So on the ground searching for me, I went to my orphanage to get some additional documents. When I was in Beijing, I went to the, they changed their name, but the central location for all the documents, and when you're 18 you can go and retrieve said documents. So I did that. There really wasn't too much that the orphanage didn't already provide me with. I did a lot of media, newspapers, a bit of online media there that some people interviewed me, and they had like online news articles and things like that posted. In the fall of 2012, I went to Beijing. I was flown there by CCTV for a TV show called Deng Zhiwo, which is a national television show about people searching for long lost relatives. So they flew me out there over my Thanksgiving break, and my mom and I were interviewed on that television show, and it premiered later in the following year. On the ground searching for me was, it was great meeting people and everything, but it wasn't as successful due to some record issues. A lot of families did come forward. I did meet with several families. I did DNA testing with them. During that time in 2012, I found a family that actually matched all of my records from the finding place to all of that stuff, birth date and everything. Did DNA back in the US again. This is my second DNA that was done in the US, and I wasn't a match, which leads to the records discrepancy. So since then, I've loosely been searching. I haven't searched on the ground since 2013. A family did come forward, but nothing really came of it. So yeah, that's sort of my experience. Sorry, it's a little scatterbrained, but yep.
Hi again, I'm Charlotte, and I was adopted from Jiangsu province in 1995. And from last episode, I left off, I had just shared a poster on social media, on Chinese social media, on WeChat and on Weibo in the summer of 2016, before I was going to travel there in the end of July and August to do some on-the-ground searching. And then actually what happened was that I didn't have too much of a chance to do a lot of on-the-ground searching because a lot of it was done for me by a local reporter who was there that I connected to through social media. And by the time that I was physically in China, I actually had the information of people who I thought were my biological parents, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a later episode. But basically what she did was, and I didn't know this until afterwards, actually what happened was that I had shared the poster on social media, and then about a week later, and then I was talking with this reporter, and then about a week later, I got a message from her saying, your biological parents are on the phone or on Skype, and they want to talk to you. And that was a pretty sort of intense, of course, session that I was able to speak to people who I thought were maybe my biological parents, but of course I didn't know what the processes that she had gone through when I first was able to talk to them. But basically what she did was she first went back to my social welfare institute in Zhenjiang City, and she looked through my files, and she located a note that I knew about that had been in my file that was left with me when I was left in the finding spot location. And apparently attached to it was a little slip of paper that had some kind of, it wasn't really a vaccination record, but somebody had scribbled down the name of, I guess, a vaccination. And somebody had also written down the name of a hospital. And she thought because this was connected to the note, which had the time and date of my birthday, maybe that was the hospital in which I was born. So she went through the records of the hospital through, I guess, certain connections that she had, and was able to find somebody had a name and an address written down for having given birth at that certain time and date at the hospital. And what she did was she literally went to their address, and she hoped that, they still lived there after some 20 odd years. And yeah, and then she asked them, you know, she didn't really know how to approach it, so she was like, who was there? It was well, actually my biological sister ended up being there. And she asked her, she didn't really know how to approach it, so she was like, do you have a sister or something? And then the woman who was there said, oh, are you talking about the daughter that our family sent away in 1994? So yeah, then she was able to follow up that lead. And yeah, I'll talk about that in a future episode. So yeah, I mean, compared to Laney and Ming, I really didn't have a chance to do a lot of on the ground searching because she had done it for me, which for better or for worse, she was able to access a lot of the things that I probably wouldn't have been able to access myself. But at the same time, it was a little bit jarring kind of not to be individually, personally involved in the on the ground searching and suddenly have these results. So yeah, there's a little bit of both sides there.
Great. Thank you, Ming, Charlotte, and Laney again for sharing. Sarah and I just want to remind you all that everyone's story is different and that by no means their stories or their processes are meant to be like replicated in any way, but just used as a guideline for yourself in searching. Stay tuned for our next video on the results.